Nou kom ons vier Duppie se lewe. En die familie het gevat dat hulle graag iets wil sê. Duppie se lewe te vier, ons gaan nou ook vir hulle geleentheid. Ons staan die mikrofoon en julle gaan kom.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Ethan. I'm Duppie's oldest grandson. Maybe start off by saying that this is probably the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. My Papa is my hero. He's my Superman. When I think about Papa, I think about a man who has given me more than I can ever imagine. Obviously, I'm not talking about money here. He gave me tools, and also, to be more specific, not any actual tools, but tools that I use every day. He taught me that nothing is ever really broken. Sometimes all you need is the right tools, some time, and a little bit of patience. That patience was tested when I was a kid. I always loved to go into his gun safe, point out a few of them and ask him, what they are. And he would give me a 10-minute history lesson on each of the guns and tell me exactly how he refurbished them. One day I asked him if he could buy me a gun. He then said, yes, of course. But right before I got super excited, he said to me, but only if you learn your times tables off by heart. My heart sank. I'm not good at maths at all. But I really wanted that pellet gun. So every time we saw Oman Oppo for Sunday lunch, I would ask him to test me, and let me just say he did not go easy at all. It took me quite a few Sunday braais, but eventually I got it. And that next week he gifted me with a pellet gun, and we spent countless hours on countless Sundays shooting these little metal ducks in the garden before eating the best potjie in the world. One that required patience to make, by the way, because you would start cooking it at 8 o'clock in the morning. I remember being a teenager and him coming to our house to fix, something, because something's always broken. And without me even realizing it, he would get me the help. But not because he needed the help, but because he wanted to teach me. That man could quite literally fix anything. And he knew this, and I knew this, but I always asked questions because I knew that someday I would have to do it for myself. And sure enough, that day came when I moved to France for 3 months to try and make it on the yachts. But after a few weeks of trying, I was running out of money and getting quite desperate. So a few of my friends in the hostel told me about a British guy who hires South Africans to work in his French construction company. And after a couple of weeks of working for this company, the boss came to me at the end of one of our work days and told me to politely tell the other guys, of which there were 5, to not come back to work. I then asked him why, because I kind of needed the help. And he said, I've never seen a man your age with so much skill. Who taught you? And I replied, my Papa. He's the reason for my success in France. He's the reason that because of this, I built 2 houses in the south of France, and my signature is somewhere in the concrete. Every single time I saw Oppo, he would always make an effort to ask me how I am, how my love life is, and he would always take a special interest in my business as a personal trainer. He knew that this was my passion, and even though he knew absolutely nothing about how PT runs his business, he would always want to talk about it with me and ask me questions, just like how I did with him. He would always ask me if I have a new client, and every time I would tell him, yeah, I've got a few more, and he would go, sure, well done, my boy, lekker, I'm so proud of you. I know my Oppo was proud of me, but not because he's my Oppo, because he would always tell me. Oppo, thank you for teaching me. Thank you for being there for me Thank you for loving me. And thank you for showing me what it is to be a man. I love you and I'm going to miss you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate the amazing man our Oaks is. It's truly special to see how many lives he's touched and just how many people honor his impact with the simple gesture of being here. My name is Rachel.
I'm Julia.
And we'll be speaking on behalf of the rest of the grandkids.
Our Opa taught us more than we ever realized. We honestly can't remember a time where he wasn't happy. He was always willing to lend a hand with his incredible engineering skills, and if something was broken, our Oaks would find a way to fix it. Going hand in hand with his generosity is his kindness. He treated everyone with respect, warmth, and care. And the most amazing part about him was that he never had to sit us down to teach us these things. He simply lived them so consistently that we couldn't help but learn from him. He carried himself with such a quiet calmness and patience.
Many of you here have been blessed by the gifted hands of Duppie, whose name is also Evert, which we must confess as grandkids were shocked to find out because we thought his birth-given name was Duppie Duppie. For his engineering services, which showed his preferred form of payment being Brandewijn, was greatly appreciated by all of you, as the going rate for brandy is far less than your typical mechanic. He always carried himself with a sense of swagger, which we think stemmed from this very cool hat and this pin that states, "Trust me, I'm an engineer." His confidence and his ability always reassured us that no matter what was broken, Duppie could fix it.
Ops was a braai master. If you were ever lucky enough to taste his potjie, rest assured you have tasted greatness. Despite the annoyance of my not eating red meat and robbing my family of lamb potjie, he was entirely supportive and not only accommodated me by making a chicken potjie, he made the best chicken potjie you'll ever eat. He also had a deep love for pasta, although we did find it quite amazing that even a 3-hour slow-cooked bolognese was in desperate need of an entire salt and pepper grinder for it to satisfy him. Another amusing anecdote is the way Ops prayed for us before every meal.
Amen.
I'm sure as grandkids will never understand the true meaning of whatever he meant, but we always ate good. Whenever we left these fabulous lunches, as we drove off, both him and Ohm stood in their driveway, waiting until we were out of sight. We know that this is just one of the moments we will miss, and the image of him standing side by side with our Ohms will always be a memory we can look back on fondly.
One of the most admirable things about Oaks is the way he loves Ohms. Their love has set such a beautiful standard for all of us, and some of our happiest memories of Oaks teasing Ohms about something, the two of them playfully bickering while the rest of the family listened and laughed, waiting to see how it would unfold. Usually in opposite defeat, poor guy never stood a chance. It was impossible to watch them without seeing that they were each other's best friends. Watching them taught us what a lifetime of love really looks like, and how happy you can be when you live life on the edge of a club.
Opes' final moments will stay with us for the rest of our lives. There was such an overwhelming abundance of love in one room. We held his hand, we thanked him, we told him we loved him, and we cried because we know that if love could have kept someone alive, Opes would have lived forever. Not everyone is given the gift of leaving this world wrapped in the love of their family. Our Opa was. And perhaps that is because he spent his whole life wrapping us in his.
Oops, we're going to miss you so much. We already miss hearing, "Hello, my girl," as we arrive for Sunday lunch. We'll miss your wheezy laugh. We'll miss your steady presence. We will miss you arriving with your toolbox in hand, ready to fix something we didn't even know was broken, which we wish you could do with our hearts right now.
We will carry your kindness in the way we treat others, your patience in the way we face life's challenges, and your joy in the way we laugh together as a family. And when we choose to love the people around us a little more deeply because of the example you set, that is where you will still be. Your life was a gift to all of us, and your love has shaped the family we are today.
Even in your absence, you continue to teach us. As painful as it has been to sit by your side until the end, perhaps the hardest lesson you've taught us is that love is stronger than loss. For that, and for so much more, we will be forever grateful. We know you're enjoying a cheeky Branové with Koos Du Plessis and enjoying the Heavenly Hall of Fame alongside him. We miss you, we love you, rest peacefully, Rose. I don't really know how to follow that.
To say that writing this tribute was hard is an understatement. Oh God, I've got to get through 3 pages. Okay. How do I encapsulate a man of such significance in my life in just a few short minutes? It's near impossible. So I'm going to try and give you the highlights reel, and please excuse the jumbled thoughts, and I will be doing this in Engels, Wiki Engels, Wiki Afrikaans. My dad was an engineer to his core. He hated waste of any kind. Niks wat reggemaak kon word, is vervang nie. En die meeste van die tyd was hy succesvol. Although we did live with a broken dishwasher for a number of years, until my mom threatened to call a handyman to come fix it, the threat of another man getting paid for a job that he could do was too much to bear, and so it got fixed very quickly. Which brings me nicely to my second thought. My dad was notoriously frugal and always claimed that he had no money. The standing joke in our house was that if you asked my dad for money, he would open his wallet, and it didn't matter what time of the month it was. He would open his wallet and he'd go, "Kyk, ek het net R20 oor en ek moet nog petrol in die bakkie gooi." My Oma, his mother, used to say he had a deep nora, which is this thing in the back of your neck, little hole. You can feel for it right now. If it's deep, you're stingy. My dad had a deep nora. You could never take him for a ride. He knew too much and never accepted the first quote of anything. A gift he passed on to my brother and Rachel, not so much my mother and I. The best person to take with you to a mechanic or a hardware store. They never used to be able to pull one over him. But even though he did not spend or dish out money, my dad was one of the most generous people you have ever met. He was generous with his time, with his expertise, with his experience and possessions. He would do everything he can to help literally anyone who needed it. I'm sure many of you sitting here today has benefited from Duppie's assistance in some way or another, and as my daughter pointed out, would have had to pay for that privilege with a bit of welfare. He was generous with his talents and indiscriminate as to who would benefit from them. Probably the quality that I admired the most in my dad was his total acceptance of others. He never judged and treated everyone with respect. This showed in how much he was loved by everyone he worked with, from the cleaner to the managing director.
My pa was altyd kalm. Niks kon hom rattel nie en hy het jongste geduld gehad. Ek onthou heeltemal te veel aande waar ek in trane sit terwyl my pa rustig wiskunde probeer verduidelik het. Die lang metode, no shortcuts. And that was my dad, hard working. He had a work ethic second to none. With the support of my mother, and while my brother and I were still very little, he did his engineering qualification whilst working a full-time job, and he still passed it cum laude. He loved life and he loved adventure. Nothing pleased him more than planning a road trip using a paper map, of course, and setting off in Susie and later his jeep with my mom and Dani and Linda to somewhere in South Africa. He travelled a bit overseas for work, and he always claimed that there was nowhere as beautiful as home, and why should he go anywhere else and rather explore the beauties of his own country. My dad was not great at verbally expressing his love, but we felt it in the million ways he showed it. never with fanfare. I got coffee in bed every morning of my life until I left home. Even on a Saturday morning when I didn't want it. Surprising me with my first car, totally out of the blue, it was my uncle's second-hand yellow Mazda 323. Love that car. Fixing or installing a myriad of things around our house, always with a happy demeanor. Pitching up for his grandkids' music recitals, even the recorder and the drum kit. Sports matches, concerts. After his stroke and his cancer diagnosis, one of the times that I saw my dad most upset was when he couldn't get to Chanty's rugby match. He loved his grandkids so much. And then lastly, the way he loved my mom. He showed me how a husband should treat his support and love his wife. He adored my mom and never denied her anything. They argued, for sure, but never for long, and always with my dad ending up saying, "Ah, Bobby man." They say girls marry men like their fathers, and he certainly set an excellent example for me, and I feel I did that. I cannot believe he is gone. He promised that he would live until 108. So we were very unprepared for this. I know that this is the way of things, but gosh, this is really hard. I miss his cheeky grin, his zest for life, and the way he patiently and quietly loved me my whole life. Love you, Dad.
Ooh. This is a bit of a hard one to follow as well. As the youngest child, I obviously came very unprepared, as per normal. I've seen no papers that hold or anything like that. I thought I was just bringing it on the way through. As you know, my dad and I share a name, and I just figured out I'm no longer junior. When I talk about Dad, I said this to Dad in a letter. The one positive about Dad being ill was the fact that I could talk to him, and the last bit before he passed. And I wrote him a letter. And in a letter I said it's very difficult for me to separate Mom and him from one another. But it came as a package, always came as a package. And as my sister alluded to, she sat there with the maths. I was a bit more of the sporty one. Dad will always be at the side of the sports field, watching quietly, having a cup of coffee, while Mom, on the other hand, was a little bit more vocal, if you want to call it that. Made her presence known quite clearly. But that's how they function, and that's how they work. There was no other way that the two functioned in a way. And Dad taught us these quiet lessons all the time. There was never somebody that was blatant about what he wanted to teach you. I think the reason why I'm an accountant was in 1986, if I can recall correctly. Dad sat myself and my sister down and went, here's an allowance, here's a book, you will write up everything that you spend. And at the end of the month, you had to tally things up, give the book to him. If you wanted an increase, you had to justify why you needed an increase. He just decided about an increase every year. My sister, on the other hand, I think he's still going to 10 and allowance. And that's probably the reason why I'm an accountant as well. It was inbred into me. But yeah, it's difficult to say goodbye to a man that you followed your life for such a long period of time. And a friend of mine told me, soon after Dad died, he said, I never met your dad. He says, but I can see in the person who you are that your dad was a great person. And funny enough, in the letter that I wrote down, I said to him, you might not be around, but the legacy of you will continue in all of us. In me, in the grandkids, hopefully your kids, if you're going to have any. And that's the legacy that he used for us. But just also to, memories of Dad and myself and Mom. I see some of the shooting guys are here. Dad was part of the Highlanders, if I can remember, John, at one stage, which was a military shooting club in town. I was dragged to that with Dad, and it got a bit late. Dad had a couple more brandies than he should have. I was a minor, I didn't drink. And we got home, and Mom proceeded to have locked every single door. Everybody in the house, and Dad and I had to sleep in the car. It was really not my fault at all. But that's how Dad was. Shortly, another little anecdote was, shortly after Mel and I were separated, you always find refuge at home, which I did. I was going to move in with my mom and dad again at the age of 32, I think it was, if I remember correctly. Being separated, I had a little bit of a wilder life for me, and every night when I got home, either the passage light was on, or Mom was sitting in the room waiting for me, watching TV, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. This went on for about 3-4 weeks, to which point Dad came to me one day and said to me, I think it's time you need to go. I said, well, I don't have anywhere to go. He said, well, it's either you've got to leave or I've got to leave, and I've been here longer than you. So, shortly after that, I left. But that's just how Dad was. He taught you lessons without you really knowing that he's doing it. And it's a trait that he's passed on to everybody. And I must say, I look around this room, there's people I haven't seen here for years and years, and this room itself brings back memories of sitting right up there, I think, about 30 years ago. Donna used to sit down here, if I can recall, over there, sorry, yes. So there's a lot of memories that we share here. And one last story, which Mom will hate me telling, but this is really, really very true. And I think this was early 70s, I think TV just came out. Mom was a big wrestling fan. So, those are the years of Jan Wilkins and Bruce here and the proper Afrikaans wrestlers. So there was an American tag team coming out called the Stromberg Brothers. So Dad bought tickets for him and Mom to go to the Good Up Center, if I can recall. Front row seats, as Mom deserved, backstage. Now, all of you who know my dad, he's about yay high, not the biggest guy in the world. But the Stromberg Brothers did some things to young Wilkins which Mom did not like. And as he came past, Mom thought, well, this is a good time to hit him with a handbag. Which he did. And all Dad did was sit there quiet. That is the patience of the man. So he knew which battles to pick. So you'll see all of us wear these caps today. It's a cap I got Dad a couple of years ago. Yes, it was from Tina, by the way. On the badge on the side it says, trust me, I'm an engineer. And we had always had this standing joke in the house, who's more clever, engineers or accountants? I don't know who won that one. But I do know I didn't get the last equation wrong. He did. He said it was going to be another 28 years. We didn't factor in that little X that we couldn't figure out and work out. So I'm going to call this one a tie. Maybe one such. But Dad will be missed. He was loved by everybody, loved by me. I had a lot of time and patience. He had a lot of time and patience for me, probably more than I deserved ever. I wasn't the easiest child. But yeah, you missed Dad. I love you. I love you too.
Eerstens wil ek net al die eer en die dank aan ons Hemelse Vader gee vir Duppie se lewe van 79 jaar. En ons geseënde huweliksjaar van 55 jaar. Hy was 'n wonderlike pa vir Almarie en Evert en 'n skoonpa vir Thomas. En 'n uitsonderlike oupa vir Ethan, Rachel, Kira, Julia en Jonty. En volgens die 8 van hulle kon hulle pa en hulle oupa net mooi niks verkeerd doen nie. En in hulle oë nie. En dat hy 'n regte MacGyver was, wat alles kon regmaak. En vir Duppie was hulle sy grootste liefde en trots. Duppie was 'n boerling van die Klein Karoo naamlik Oudtshoorn en het 'n stukkie hasenjag. Maar sy grootwordjare was meestal in de rust, waar hy skool gegaan het en in die koshuis gebly het en nie met afnaweek en vakansietye huis toe kon gaan. So sy liefde vir de rust was ongeken. Elke keer as ons in daardie omgewing was, moes ons eers deur die dag berei. Feitlik elke straat verken, sodat hy net kon sien dat alles nog goed gaan in sy dorpie. Duppie was waarlik 'n mens en het almal met respek en waarde behandel en almal oor een kam geskeer. Hy was altyd vriendelik, was baie lief om homself en grappies te maak. As iemand gevra het vir raad of om iets reg te maak, het hy dit met die grootste liefde gedoen. En indien hy nie kon, het hy uit sy pad gegaan om iemand of 'n plek te kry wat kon uithelp. Hy was ook uiters loyaal teenoor sy familie, gemeente, vriende, ons bure, sy skietklub, die manneklub van Constantia, die mense wat saam met hom by BND gewerk het, en ook die mense van Constantia bly. Na sy beroepte kon hy nie meer so lekker kommunikeer met mense nie. Maar sy hemelsin was nog steeds baie skerp. Veral as die woorde verkeerd uitgekom het, en hy dadelik geweet dit is verkeerd, dan was dit vir hom die grootste grap wat hy kon gemaak. Dit was net vir hom net te snaaks gewees. Hy kon nie ophou lag. Met sy verblyf by Steptown in Duppie was hy baie gewild by die therapeute en by die therapeutes, want hy het met almal grappige manke gesels, net soos Duppie kon. Ek kan onthou dat nadat hy by die buitepasiënte afdeling van Steptown was, het sy nuwe fisionoom eendag gevra. Sy wil nie weet hoe lank hy by Steptown was, want waar hulle geloop word hy nie links en regs gegroet deur fisio's en therapeutes met die woorde van, hoe gaan dit met jou en ons mis jou baie. So man was Duppie. Maar nou moet ek net eintlik sê. Duppie was nie 'n goeie navigeerder. Dit was sy nemesis. Veral wanneer ons vreemde paaie gery het met kaarte en al, het ons op een of ander manier verdwaal. Tot my grootste frustrasie en verdriet. Maar vir Duppie was dit net een lekker, veral omdat hy op die grondpaaie kon ry en dan was hy in sy element. En daarvan gaan Dani en Linda getuig. Hiermee wil ek afsluit. Duppie Dankie vir ons wonderlike jaar. Van saam wees. Ons het vir waarde klomsakke sout saam opgeleef. En ek dink ons het baie goed aan mekaar uitgekom. Ons gaan jou baie verlang. En ons gaan jou baie mis. Maar een ding weet ek verseker. Dat ons eendag weer saam sal wees. Baie lief vir jou. En ek is niet vergeten.
Not quite sure how to follow that. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to Duppie's celebration of life. He touched so many lives, and it's so great to see so many of you here. For those who don't know, I'm Thomas Turk, I'm your favourite son-in-law. You probably heard and you probably picked up from everybody who's spoken that everybody was the favourite at some point. And that was Duppie. He made you feel heard, he made you feel seen, he made you feel important, and he made you feel valued. When you were with him, you were it, and what you were doing was the thing. And in that moment, you were the favourite. And for me, that's Duppie's legacy. He often touched my life in many ways, technical repairs of stuff that just broke. Around my house, my car, my garden, my pool, my fence, my gates, my alarm, my garage, my intercom, my fence, the fence was a bomb, my pump, the borehole. There were a few other things as well. But often he would just come around and he'd have the right tools and he'd be able to fix it. And he always came with that amazing attitude. Nothing was not fixable. So on behalf of the entire family, thank you for being here today. Some of you have come from near and far. We appreciate that. Your kindness, your care, your support messages, lasagnas, they've carried us through this time. We'd also like to particularly thank and give heartfelt thanks to those who cared for Dup with such compassion and dignity in his final months, to the staff at Takai's Step Down, where Dup seemed to become a bit of a celebrity, as you heard before, probably because of the high rocks training he was doing with Jamie the physio. He got great welcomes whenever he returned. To Tamlin, the speech therapist, who worked so patiently and got us through some epic conversations and laughter with Dup. I think Padakuk, which eventually we ended up eating pancakes, so rather than frog's cake, but he quite enjoyed that. Dr. James Gould, his exceptional care and wisdom and empathy for him was quite special in those last months. To the caring Sister Robin and the wonderful team at Charity Health and their compassionate support. To Michelle, Everett's partner, who provided significant comfort when there was a myriad of drugs flying around, your knowledge and provided comfort for when we had no idea what tricyclomethylphenidine was, and gave us comfort in that. To Norzy and Rachel, the carers, and for Peter, who was there during the week, your care, your walks with Duppie, with gentle presence, will always be remembered. Especially that Friday afternoon when Rosie sat with Duppie and lovingly read the Bible verse, which we were all around. It's the same verse that you see on the invitation. That was there. It was a profoundly beautiful moment and brought a lot of peace to all of us. We're deeply grateful for the difference all of you have made, not only to Duppie, to your entire family, to Patricia and the team from Constantia Funeral Home. Your respectfulness in our lowest moments is truly appreciated. To the Mana Medi Gabera, who did that great tribute with the ceremonial rifle salute. It was a fitting farewell that honoured many years of friendships and shooting at targets with Duppie over the years. To Ian, the organist, thank you very much. Duppie's listened to you many times, and thank you for being here today. Die gemeente van Constantia, aan elkeen van julle wat Duppie besoek het en Peter ondersteun het, baie dankie. And Duppie, Hannes, thank you for the times that you've met with the family. Your eerlikheid was vir ons groot troos en jou suiwer Afrikaans mooi uitdaging op my kinders. And finally, we thank God throughout this journey we've seen His hand at work and through people and circumstances. And as much as it has been beyond our control, has never been beyond his. He's carried us and cared for us and reminded us of his faithfulness. To him be the glory. Please stay and join us for lots of food. I don't think anybody will need supper tonight. For the people that bought extra, thank you. Please, if you need to take some home with you, that's also okay. You don't need it here later, so enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.